recording. Nice. Well, it is a nice and rainy Monday afternoon, and I was sitting at my computer and looking at just what kind of has been trending on our YouTube channel, and I realized that a lot of you that are present here are looking at options for your A7S II in 2023. So one of the first things that popped into my mind was, what lens should you be buying for the A7S II? So let's get into it. So I've had the A7S II for about a year and a half now, and it's still one of my go-to cameras when it comes to filming videos. So I do own the FX30. The FX30 did become my A cam, and my A7S II is now my B cam. And I use the FX30 for more professional settings like weddings and interviews, but the A7S II is always in my camera bag and ready to go in a split second. And like I said, it's my main B cam. I have it kicking around and I don't go anywhere without it because I know it is a super reliable tank of a camera that can handle pretty much anything I need it to do. So when I originally picked up my A7S II, I knew it came with the stock lens, but I knew that I needed to find a lens that was going to be an all-in-one versatile kind of lens that was gonna get everything I needed done for a smaller price point. Because if you're looking at purchasing the Sony A7S II in 2023, you are obviously on some kind of budget, which I was at the time, and so I needed a budget option for a lens as well. And that's why I ended up picking up the Tamron 28 to 75mm f2.8. This lens is incredible, and in my humble opinion, the best lens that you can pick up for your Sony A7S II without breaking the bank, and it competes with the native lenses, the native 24 to 70s from Sony, Nikon, Canon, whatever you might be shooting with. It competes and puts up results that are almost on par with those native lenses. And this lens is also for those who are, like I said, on a budget and unable to afford maybe a few lenses. You know, oftentimes videographers will want to go for a couple primes and avoid zoom lenses, but I think for those who can't afford to buy 1, 2, 3 cheaper prime lenses, but instead want to have one all-in-one lens that is versatile and can get you pretty much everything and cover all your bases, this lens is for you. I know. Some people still have this weird thing against third-party lens producers like Sigma and Tamron, but I can tell you wholeheartedly, especially from the photography side of things, my wife and I, who've been wedding photographers for the last 4 years, we've been using Sigma lenses in our professional kit, and we have had nothing but praise for these third-party lenses. So for that reason, that's why I ended up picking up this Tamron, knowing that I was in good hands and my money was in good hands putting up the money for this third-party lens. So here it is. This is the lens right here, the 28 to 75. Looks great. It's paired on my A7S II right here. And this is what your kit would look like when paired together. The A7S II with the 28 to 75 f2.8. Pretty sweet if you ask me. So this lens can be found for around $1,000 new in Canada, so $1,000 Canadian, or about $900 American. You can probably find it used on Marketplace for a couple $100 less. I ended up picking up this 28 to 70 for about $700 Canadian. I just ended up finding a really good deal at the time. What I love most about this lens is the f2.8 aperture. I mean, that's like the dream for any photographer, videographer, is aperture, and the f2.8 paired with the full frame sensor and this low light of a beast camera, it's actually going to be incredible in getting you really, really good and professional looking results. Now, the focal length is a little weird, right? It's not a 24 to 70, it's a 28 to 75. And for the most part, it is actually going to be almost identical to the 24 to 70. I'm sure that if you've used the 24 to 70 in the past, the results are going to be indiscernible. You won't be able to tell the difference between the 28 and the 24 and the 75 versus the 70mm. Now, if you have the A7S II, you know that the autofocus is one of its biggest drawbacks, but anytime you're using it paired with the 28-75, the focus breathing can be a little tough, but it is completely silent. The autofocus motors in this lens are dead quiet. I don't have numbers, but you cannot hear them for a single second, which is a really nice thing to have when you are relying on the A7S II autofocus. Now, the other benefit or advantage or whatever you want to call it to the 28-75 is its close focus capacity. This thing can get up to like millimeters of certain objects and actually get you nice, tight, sharp shots. It's actually incredible compared to the 24-70 that we have. That is a Nikon professional glass. I mean, it's night and day. Like, this thing can get almost macro shots. It's crazy. Now, that being said, even though I think this is the lens for you, if you do have a Sony A7S II, there are a couple things to note that I have noticed that do tend to bug me a little bit. So let's get into it. One of the biggest things, and this just might be me being nitpicky, but as you'll notice right here, the focus isn't, the zoom isn't internal, but rather it is actually external. With all of our Nikon lenses, all of the zoom that we have, all the zoom features are internal, and I've gotten really used to that. I mean, you'll notice like anytime, especially with gimbal work, as soon as you go from a 28-75, all of a sudden you have a lot more weight just sitting on the front of the camera. And depending on what gimbal you're using, it actually ends up needing to be rebalanced if you just want to change your focal length. So it is, the other thing is it is weather sealed, but when it comes to the external zoom, I always find it just a little bit sketchy when I'm shooting, especially in the rain. You still have, like, there's chance for rain to get right into that zoom ring, and just once you close it, actually get inside the lens. That's often how moisture gets in the lens, even if it's weather sealed. So that is always just something to be aware of. I have a hard time with that. I mean, I've shot in the rain with it and there hasn't been an issue, but that is going to be the place where this lens starts to break down over time. Now, the focal range 28-75 is one of its selling points, but I do find that 28mm compared to like a 24mm from a 24-70 actually is quite different. You'll notice when you're shooting super wide, if you're ever shooting any kind of handheld, you have to hold it quite a bit farther away from you, or shooting landscape, you actually really end up missing that extra 4mm more than you think you would. But all in all, those are some pretty low-key negative aspects. I think overall, this is gonna be the best bang for your buck lens that you can pick up for your A7S II. You can pick it up used for dirt cheap, Canadian, American, it doesn't matter. So if you're considering picking up the 28-75, here's a couple clips from this camera. I mean, we've been shooting with this and only this lens on this camera for the last year and a half. Take a look. So if you end up picking this lens up, let me know how it works for you in the comments below, or if you have a different option, if you disagree, let me know. If you want more content based on Sony line cameras, subscribe and follow for more. We have lots in the works. Peace.